Emily Carter never planned to come home early that Thursday evening. The day had been long, filled with small frustrations and quiet, tired thoughts. Outside her office in downtown Seattle, rain began to fall hard and fast, turning the sky dark. Before its time. Her last meeting was canceled, and with nothing holding her back, she packed her bag and left, thinking only of warmth, silence, and the comfort of familiar walls. As she drove through wet streets, she felt a strange pull in her chest. It had been there for weeks, maybe months, feelings she could not name. Her life looked fine from the outside. A steady job, clean apartment, a husband she had loved for over 10 years. Yet something felt thin, like a thread stretched too far. Daniel, her husband, was supposed to be working late. He had said it that morning while pouring coffee, his voice calm, his eyes fixed on his phone. Emily had nodded without thinking much about it. Lately, they had learned how to move around each other without questions. It was easier that way. She parked near their building and walked up the stairs, her shoes making soft sounds against the concrete. When she reached their door, she noticed Daniel's shoes by the mat. Her first thought was simple surprise. Her second thought was confusion. Her third thought was a sudden fear she could not explain. Emily unlocked the door and stepped. Inside, the apartment lights were on. The air felt warm. Everything looked normal, almost too normal. Her bag slipped slightly from her shoulder as she stood still, listening. That was when she heard voices coming from the kitchen. Daniel's voice, familiar and low. Another voice, lighter, softer. A woman's voice. Her heart began to race. Emily did not rush forward. She stood near the doorway, frozen, as if her body was waiting for her mind to catch up. She told herself there must be a simple reason. A coworker. A work problem. Something harmless. Still, her feet felt heavy as she slowly walked toward the kitchen. The sound of laughter reached her ears. Quiet, shared laughter. When Emily turned the corner, the room came into full view. Daniel stood near the counter, his sleeves rolled up. Across from him stood Claire Thompson. Emily recognized her immediately. Claire worked with Daniel. Had met once at a company dinner months ago. Claire had smiled politely, spoken kindly, and asked Emily what she did for work. Now Claire stood there, holding a mug with both hands. Her shoulders were tense. The space between her and Daniel was small. Too small. Time seemed to slow. Daniel turned first. His face drained of color the moment he saw Emily. Claire followed his gaze. Her eyes widened and she took a step back as if she had been burned. No one spoke. Emily felt her chest tighten, but her face stayed calm. She noticed strange details instead of the pain. The clock ticking loudly on the wall. The hum of the fridge. The smell of coffee mixed with rain-soaked coats. Her mind focused on these small things because they were easier than facing the truth standing in front of her. "I didn't know you were coming home early," Daniel said. His voice sounded unsure, almost distant. Emily placed her bag on the chair slowly. Her hands were steady, even though her heart was not. "I didn't plan to," she replied. Claire shifted her weight, her eyes fixed on the floor. "Emily, I'm sorry," she said quickly. Her words felt rushed, as if she wanted to escape them. Emily looked at her. Really looked at her. Claire's face was pale. Her hands shook slightly as she set the mug down. Emily did not feel anger toward her. What she felt was something colder, something heavier. Claire grabbed her coat without another word and moved toward the door. She hesitated for a moment, as if wanting to say more, then left. The door closed behind her with a sound that felt final. Emily and Daniel were alone. The silence between them was thick. Daniel ran a hand through his hair, a habit he had when he was nervous. Emily had seen that gesture many times before, but now it felt different, like it belonged to someone else. "It's not what you think," Daniel said. Emily met his eyes. She waited, giving him space to explain. When he didn't speak again, she nodded slowly. Then tell me what it is. Daniel opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked away. That small pause told Emily everything she needed to know. Her breath caught, but she forced it to steady. How long? She asked. Daniel hesitated again. It's complicated. Emily felt something inside her shift. Not break, shift. That's not an answer. He leaned against the counter, suddenly looking tired. We've just been talking a lot. I didn't plan for it to become this. Emily let out a short, quiet laugh that surprised even her. You didn't plan to lie to me either, she said. Daniel looked at her, pain flickering across his face. I never touched her. Emily nodded. You didn't have to. Those words hung in the air between them. Emily turned away and looked out the window. The rain fell harder now, streaking the glass. She remembered how she used to wait for Daniel to come home, how she used to tell him everything about her day. Somewhere along the way they had stopped doing that. Not because of anger, but because of distance. I need to leave, Emily said quietly. Daniel pushed himself off the counter. Emily, please, let's talk. We will, she said. But not right now. She grabbed her keys and coat. Her movements were calm, almost slow. Inside, her thoughts were racing. She felt hurt, yes, but also clarity. A sharp, painful clarity. As she opened the door, Daniel called her name. She paused but did not turn around. I never wanted to hurt you, he said. That Emily closed her eyes for a brief moment. But you did. She stepped out into the rain. The cold air hit her face, mixing with tears she had not realized were falling. She walked without direction, her thoughts tangled. She replayed moments from the past year, late nights, short answers, missed dinners, signs she had ignored because it was easier not to see them. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She did not check it. Emily reached the street and stopped under a streetlight. Cars passed by, their lights blurred by rain. She felt small and exposed, yet strangely awake. The life she thought she understood had shifted in a single moment. She realized then that what hurt most was not the image of Daniel and Claire in the kitchen. It was the truth beneath it. The truth that they had both been lonely. That something precious had been slipping away quietly, without noise, until it was too late. Emily wiped her face and took a deep breath. She did not know what would happen next. She did not know if her marriage could survive this moment. All she knew was that the door she had opened that evening could never be closed again. Behind her, the apartment lights stayed on. Inside, Daniel stood alone, surrounded by the life they had built together, now filled with silence and regret. And as Emily walked into the night, she understood one thing clearly. Everything was about to change. Emily spent the night at her sister Sarah's house in Vancouver. Sleep came in short pieces, broken by thoughts that refused to stay quiet. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the kitchen, the space between Daniel and Claire, the look on Daniel's face when the truth reached him. By morning, her sadness had changed into something steadier. She was still hurt, but she was no longer confused. When she returned to the apartment the next day, Daniel was waiting. He had not gone to work. He sat at the dining table, hands folded, eyes tired. The room felt different, like the walls had heard everything and were holding their breath. Emily placed her keys down and stayed standing. Tell me everything, she said. Daniel did not argue, spoke slowly, choosing his words with care. He explained how it began with small talks at work, shared lunches, long conversations about stress and dreams. He admitted how those talks became a place where he felt seen again. Said he never meant to cross a line, but he knew he had. Listening. To him hurt, but Emily noticed something else too. He was not defending himself. He was finally being honest. When he finished, Emily sat across from him. I believed we were tired, she said. I didn't know we were drifting. Daniel nodded. I should have told you. Yes. Emily said you should have. They talked for hours, not shouting, not blaming, just speaking. They talked about missed dinners, about how they stopped asking each other real questions, about how silence had slowly replaced closeness. Every word felt heavy, but also necessary. In the days that followed, they tried to move forward. They cooked together, took walks, sat in the same room without phones. Some moments felt warm, almost normal. Other moments felt forced, like pretending. Something was not broken. Emily watched herself closely during that time. She noticed how often her mind went back to that evening, how trust no longer came easily, how a small sound could make her heart race. She realized that forgiveness was not a decision. It was a process she was not sure she could finish. One evening, as they sat on the couch, Daniel reached for her hand. Emily let him hold it, but she felt distant. She saw the hope in his eyes, and it hurt more than anger would have. "I don't know if I can be who you need anymore," she said softly. Daniel swallowed. "I'll wait," he replied. "However long it takes." That night, Emily lay awake, staring at the ceiling. She thought about the woman she used to be, confident, open. She thought about how much she had changed herself to keep peace, how often she chose comfort over truth. She understood then that staying only out of fear would hurt them both. A week later, Emily suggested space. Daniel did not protest. He simply nodded, as if he had been expecting it. Emily moved into a small furnished apartment near the water. The first nights were lonely, too quiet. But slowly, the quiet began to feel like freedom. She walked every morning, breathing in the cold air, letting her thoughts settle. She wrote in a notebook she had not touched in years. She slept better. Daniel called often. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they sat in silence. He asked if she was seeing anyone else. Emily told him no. This was not about someone new. It was about herself. Over time, their conversations became clearer, kinder, less desperate. They spoke about the future without fear. They admitted what they could not give each other anymore. One afternoon, they met at a cafe they used to love. Sunlight filled the room. Daniel looked healthier, calmer. So did Emily. "I think we're holding on to memories," Emily said. "It's not what we are now." Daniel nodded slowly. "I think you're right." They decided together. No anger, no fight, just acceptance. They filed papers quietly, divided books, furniture, small pieces of a shared life. Some moments were painful, others felt peaceful. Emily cried when she packed old photos, then smiled when she closed the box. On the day everything became final, Emily stood alone in her new place and felt a strange mix of grief and relief. She had lost something important, but she had also gained honesty. Months passed. Emily changed her routine. She traveled more, spent time with friends she had drifted away from. She laughed easier. She felt lighter. One evening, as she walked along the shoreline, the sun setting in soft colors, she realized her heart no longer felt tight. She thought of Daniel with kindness, not pain. She hoped he would find peace too. Emily stopped by the water and closed her eyes. The wind brushed against her face. She felt present, whole. She did not know what love would look like again. But she knew she would never ignore herself. To keep something alive. The door that once broke her had also opened her eyes. And this time she walked forward without fear.